Hi folks, good evening.
Hello, evening.
Welcome everyone, we're just letting you in. Hi folks, thanks for joining us. Just give it another half a minute or so, let people come on in. Lovely, lovely, got lots of people coming in now. It's great to see so many people interested in this. And it's still a little bit cold at the moment outside, so it's a nice thing to do on a dark, chilly evening, hopefully getting a bit warmer soon. Okay. I think most people are in now, so I think we can make a start. In the interest of being prompt and just kicking this off, well, good evening, folks, and a very warm welcome to the online Naturetrek Roadshow. I'm your host, Sarah Frost, and I'm Naturetrek's website and marketing manager. I'm also a tour leader, just back from Mexico yesterday, having been out in Baja, California, leading one of our cruises. And tonight I'm joined by one of my colleagues from the Naturetrek office, the wonderful Tom Mabbett, who is the operations manager for our Brazil tours. He's traveled there extensively, and tonight we're going to benefit greatly from his expertise. So whether you're planning a trip to the Pantanal, are already booked and want to whet your appetite before you go, or whether you simply just want to enjoy the armchair travel, then I do hope you enjoy what we have in store for you. If you do have any questions, please just pop them into the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be very happy to answer them in 45 minutes time at the end of Tom's talk. So I hope you're sitting comfortably with a glass of wine and some nibbles. And I'm now going to hand over to Tom, who will introduce himself and take us to Brazil's Pantanal. Over to you, Tom.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Lovely welcome. And thank you all for tuning in. Let me just share my screen with you all. And we'll get going. Okay, thank you very much, Sarah, for that introduction. As Sarah said, my name's Tom Mabbett. I'm an operations manager for Naturetrek. I've been at Naturetrek for 12 years now. And I spend a lot of my time at Naturetrek looking after the tours to Brazil and piecing together lots of amazing itineraries across the country. And I'm going to be focusing this evening on the Pantanal primarily, but we'll also be talking to you about some different areas that you can visit to add on extensions and make a longer trip in conjunction with a visit to the Pantanal. So I'll be talking you through our Just Jaguars itinerary, but dropping in a bit of information about the other itineraries we run to the Pantanal and beyond. So first of all, very quickly, how do we get there? We fly directly from Heathrow into Sao Paulo, which is around a 12-hour flight, and then we connect and we fly then onto Cuiabá, which you can see just north of that large sort of green area, which is the Pantanal itself, the world's largest wetland, and we're covering a small area of that northern area of that green patch there, accessed from Cuiabá. So we fly in with either LATAM or we can fly with British Airways into Sao Paulo, off to Cuiabá, and then from there it's around an hour to reach the northern Pantanal, where the fun really begins. The fun begins on this amazing Trans-Pantanal road, and those of you who've been before will have very fond memories of traveling this road. It is a really special experience. So from Cuiabá, we drive for about an hour to that town of Poconé. You can see there, right at the north end of the road, and then along this 147 kilometers, there's lodges, dotted along the road, and it runs out down there at Porto Jofre. It's in Porto Jofre where you need to take a boat, and from then you head into that area of the world's highest jaguar density, and that's of course where we're focusing our attention on finding the incredible jaguar. But working away along the Trans-Pantanal is an incredible experience. It's a real safari in itself. There's wildlife absolutely everywhere when you're traveling along this road. And it's worth just noting there that Puvial, it's a lodge that we use for an extension at the very north end of the road there. There's Pouso Alegre, where we start our itineraries. And then there's Southwell Pantanal Lodge a little further along, and then down to Porto Jofre. But it's a fantastic experience traveling this road. Once we reach the start of the Trans-Pantanal, which is a sort of a dirt gravel road, as you can see here, we board an open-sided safari vehicle such as this one here. We're raised up. We can stand up when we need to. We can view the surrounding habitat, and it just enables us to stop and start and see wildlife as we go. Those of you who've been recently, we do occasionally use enclosed minibuses. If it gets a little bit dusty later in the season, we do that, but we still have able to see an amazing abundance of wildlife. However, we move along this road, and we'll make the best decisions on the tour. So this is a typical scene around any water body when you're traveling along the Trans-Pantanal, absolutely rammed with wildlife. And it is one of those places where everywhere you look, there is something to see. The wildlife is very incredibly abundant and very, very obvious as well. So here we've got lots and lots of wood storks, great egrets, cattle egrets. There'll be refrescent tiger herons, there'll be capped herons, whistling herons. So much to look at. Every little dot there breaking the surface is a Yakari caiman. The caiman are incredibly abundant, which I'll come to again in a moment. That's a typical water body. And we'll pass lots and lots of bridges with rivers and channels and pools underneath, full of wildlife, which we'll stop at, of course. Again, just a typical mixed species scene at one of the muddy pools. Some Maguari stork, along with black skimmer there, cattle egrets, wattle jacanas, refrescent tiger heron there in the foreground, southern lapwing. Often you have 10, 15, 20 species all together feeding on these pools. It's a really huge abundance of bird life. This just shows the sort of density of Yakari caiman. I took this photo on my most recent visit last October, and this poor capybara has no way down to the water because it's just absolutely chock full of these Yakari caiman. And the estimates vary wildly, but just in this northern area of the Pantanal alone, they think there's around 30 million of these caiman. And I'll come to a little later, but it's the reason why jaguars do so well here. Is linked to this incredible number of caiman. They prey on them, with ease. They're very, very easy targets for the jaguars, and it's their main food source here. As well as capybara as well, of course, but the caiman, there's just so many of them. They're easy pickings. They become very prolific at catching them. It's a fantastic place, of course, for photography. So this is all the photos I'm using tonight are either taken by group members, tour leaders, and a few of the more ropey photos by myself. But this is how close you can get to some of these animals. This will be just resting by the side of the road. And this caiman is munching on a catfish. It's incredible to think how many fish there must be in these pools of water to support all those caiman and all those hundreds and thousands of birds as well. But there's just a huge abundance of fish, which is caiman feeding on. But they feed on a really wide range of prey. I'll let you have a think for a moment what this caiman might have been having a snack on. A little bit of a tricky meal. This would have been a Brazilian porcupine, which we occasionally see on our tours, and we're aiming to find as much wildlife as we can. Of course, we're not focused purely on jaguars. We're seeing so many amazing birds and mammals. And Brazilian porcupine is occasionally seen, but what an amazing photo with all the quills stuck into the face of this caiman. As we travel along the Trans-Pantanal, this is just heading to Puso Alegre, our first lodge, which we stay at for 2 nights. We'll be seeing jabiru storks. They're very abundant. The tallest flying bird in the Americas. This amazing stork here, and they'll be all around in the waters, catching fish as the one is doing here. And we'll see lots of capybara, particularly in the wetter areas, grazing the lawns at the lodges, out on sandbanks when we're down in the sort of the sort of core jaguar area, and really endearing creatures. The world's largest rodent, and it's got that scent gland on its forehead there. That big sort of lump is a scent gland, a murillo, larger in the males. You occasionally see them sort of scratching their forehead on vegetation to sort of mark their territory. And we'll be seeing capybara wherever we travel. So we'll be seeing them. So there's a great abundance of wildlife to see as we travel along the road, and eventually we'll come to the driveway of Puso Alegre, and that's where we'll stay for our first base. And it's about 6-7 kilometer private driveway, and a really nice mix of habitats here. It's a really great place to start. where you've got gallery forest, you've got these pools down the edge of the driveway, you've got open grassland and ranch land. It's a haven for wildlife. It has it all here at Pouso Alegre, and it's a super place to start off with. The accommodation is on the more basic end of the three accommodations that we use on the tour, but the rooms are air conditioned, they're clean and comfortable, and it's a brilliant intimate wildlife lodge. It really is, and just wandering around the grounds and taking a nice walk into the gallery forest nearby will reveal a huge abundance of wildlife. So one of the activities that we will do is we'll drive out. We'll go on a little safari, slowly cruising alongside the waterways, scanning over the open ground, and often in the evening, just sit as it gets dark next to a waterhole and see what emerges. And it's really exciting. You hear the rustling in the undergrowth to see what might come out. And there's a tapir here, of course, coming in and having a long drink from the pool. There's a South American coati in the background. There might be a tyra. There might be red and grey brocket deer. There might be with luck a giant anteater. There's a whole abundance of wildlife that comes down here. The owner has some camera traps set up and has recorded puma, bush dogs. I mean, it's all here. It's a very, very exciting place to explore. As I said, with luck, we might see giant anteater. Really very great abundance of sightings last year. They slightly dipped sort of 2-3 years ago. Last year, around half our groups at Pouso Alegre managed to see giant anteater. So the sightings became more frequent again last year, which we were very happy about. Coming down to the water pools or out at night spotlighting. So it's a very good place for this fantastic animal. Around 2 meters long, half of that being a really long bushy tail, which is perfect for giving them shade in the hot days and also for keeping warm in the chillier evenings. So they're one of my absolute favorite animals. They've got very poor eyesight and hearing, really rely on their sense of smell to find the termite nests and to feed on the termites, of course, ripping them apart with their strong claws. An amazing animal. And we will get out spotlighting at Pouso Alegre. We'll get into the truck and go trundling around the area with the spotlight, seeing what we can find. And we were lucky on my visit last year. A little video here of the amazing giant anteater. Lovely. Around Pouso Alegre, there's some superb feeding stations for the birds. So the main focus of the Just Jaguars itinerary is, of course, the mammals, but the birds are everywhere, and you don't need to try hard to see them. So with very little effort, we'll be seeing around 150, 170 species throughout the tour, and you're literally tripping over the bird life around the lodge. So here there's tucatoucans, you can see there's crested pendula to the right. There's barefaced curassows. Just there's yellow-billed cardinals. There's all sorts, choppy blackbirds, lots and lots to enjoy all around. And the wildlife is just wandering past past your room at night. This is heading back to the room after dinner, and a tapir just walking right past the doorways to the room. So you often don't have to work hard here to see some amazing wildlife. Hyacinth macaws breed in the ground, so we've got a really superb chance of seeing this bird really close up, crunching through a palm nut here with their incredibly strong bill, with the world's largest macaw species. And we'll stop off at spots along the Pantanal as well to have really great views of this special species. Chestnut-eared aracari, a member of the toucan family on the right, and of course greater rhea here on the left. So often people don't really think of the Pantanal as being so sort of dominated by open sort of grassland. In this northern end of the Trans-Pantanal Road, it is vast areas of open grassland and ranch land, often dotted with termite mounds. And we'll often see greater rhea in small groups, striding around this open countryside. They're a fascinating bird. It's actually the males, multiple females will lay their eggs into one nest, of sometimes up to sort of 20 to 30 eggs, and it's the male that will actually brood those eggs and rear the young. We often see sort of groups of them wandering around just around the lodge grounds. So after 2 nights at Pusalegre, we then carry on along the Trans-Pantanal Road. We reach all the way to Porto Jofre and then board a motorboat to drive for around 20 minutes to reach the Flotel, which is where we base ourselves for the Just Jaguars itinerary, for the Pantanal and Iguazu combined tour, for the mammals of the Pantanal itinerary, and also for our combined Amazon and Pantanal tour. So some of those tours use the suites, which are these larger rooms here on the Just Jaguars tour and the Pantanal and Iguazu tour, and the standard rooms are these rooms here on the right-hand side. So it's all the same structure, and the standard rooms are still air conditioned and very clean and comfortable, but smaller, without these larger windows for a view over the water. So that's the sort of differences in the rooms there. But you can see that the amazing gallery forest lining the edge of the waterway there. There's that sort of observation deck. You can keep scanning and watching for wildlife in any downtime. But the time is dominated with heading out on a smaller boat that you can see right at the back there. We'll be out on the waterways, typically from sort of 7 o'clock till 11ish, and then a little bit of downtime at 11, 12, and then back out on the water at typically around 3 o'clock up until dark. That's a typical day. Really nice rooms in the one of the suites there. Great view out over the river. And on my trip, we saw giant otter and jaguar actually from the flotel. So it's we're right in the heart of it, an absolute best place to be exploring the area from. So this is a photo of the spotting boat. So we're sat in 2 rows of 6. Sorry, so everyone has an edge of the boat. You're not looking through the back of anyone's head or anything like that. Everyone's got a perfect view, and it's great fun just to get out exploring this habitat, which has just absolutely abundant wildlife. Black skimmers are very commonly seen. The really long, elongated lower mandible here, skimming here, so it drags that lower mandible through the water and snaps shut on any fish it comes across. We might come around the next bend and there'll be a flock of hyacinth macaws and black vultures. The bird life is everywhere and sort of and really unmissable. Yellow anaconda, we have good success with finding, quite abundant. This particular animal is resting in a hole created by a catfish, and then when the water's receded, this animal's basking in this hole here on the bank. So it's called it's loosely called the jaguar zone. It should also be called the giant otter zone. These amazing animals are found here in such a fantastic abundance, and it's an animal we will spend some quality time with during any visit to this area of the Pantanal. They travel around in noisy family parties. They need to feed a lot, so often coming across the munching through fish. You can get so close you can hear them crunching away through their prey, and each one has these distinct, unique markings on their throat, which is this one showing off here. The river wolf, they're sometimes known as they move around in almost like packs like this. They're up to 1.5 meters long. They're big animals with these big long paddle tails, and they're a formidable predator. And on my trip recently, there was a group who were giving a jaguar that's resting on the bank. They were really giving it some stick and forcing it to move away. I mean, you really don't mess with a whole family party of giant otters. This fish here has met its maker in the powerful jaws of an otter, and see its teeth there, and they really do carry on oblivious of their onlookers. Will just shut off the engine and just spend some quality time with giant otters. But the ultimate goal, of course, of being down here in this, traveling all this way to the area of highest jaguar density, is to see that special cat itself, the mighty jaguar, and it is a wonderful experience to come face to face with this apex predator of South America. We're looking for them in these sort of open patches in the gallery forest on the riverbanks, just cruising around, keeping our eyes peeled. and hoping to see this amazing predator. This gives you a bit more of a habitat shot and a bit of a feel for how we find these cats typically. Just sat on the bank here with a gallery forest behind them. It's a good time to mention the sort of river level. So whether you visit in June, which is the start of the season, or you visit in November, which is at the end of the season, these banks, the bank there that jaguar's resting on, they're always exposed. It's these banks that the jaguars are hunting along. They're walking along here, looking for unsuspecting caiman in the water, or a capybara, and they will sort of launch and jump down onto them to take them. And the water level will typically drop, about 2 meters, 2.5 meters in a dry year from the start of the season to the end of the season. So you've got an amazing chance of seeing the jaguars, giant otters, and the other species I've mentioned right through the season, and we've never missed either. And we always have prolific sightings throughout that window. Here's a mother and a youngster having a tug of war with a yellow anaconda. So we have time to really see some amazing behaviors. On the Just Jaguars tour, we're spending 4 nights at the float house. That's the longest we spend. And the other tours we're spending 3 nights. So we'll get out and we'll have really ample opportunity to see lots of different behaviors. They're not known particularly as for climbing trees, but here they'll climb overhanging branches and wait patiently for a caiman just to surface and then dive down into the water to try and take it. Another really thrilling experience to witness. This is a very famous jaguar. I include this slide just to remind myself to explain how prolific they are at taking caiman, but I've already mentioned that. If you find a new jaguar, which various groups do, each jaguar is logged, and there's actually a dossier on the flotel which you can look through and learn the names of the different jaguars that have been found. This jaguar is very well named Mick Jaguar. He's not around anymore, sadly, but he was an absolute prolific caiman hunter. So if you were to go onto YouTube and type in Mick Jaguar caiman, it would come up with videos of this guy hunting caiman prolifically. But it's a skill that lots of the jaguars there are very efficient at. And they really take these animals with ease. It's a quick video here of a jaguar storming into the water and taking a carry caiman. Amazing power. They will occasionally try to take tapir. So this tapir you can see has got sort of scratch marks and rake marks on its rump there. It's a super photo that's taken on a tour the back end of last year, and we're seeing tapir frequently on the visits. And this one clearly had a little go from a jaguar. And when I was there, I actually saw in October a jaguar coming face to face with the tapir, stalking it around 200 meters along the sort of along the riverbank there, and getting very, very close indeed. And it's just the end of the scene here, just to watch for just under a minute, this next video, to see how it all panned out. But there's always an exciting scene to witness in the Pantanal. So he's a real torpedo tapir, and they're incredibly fast swimmers, as you can see there. And there was no chance that jaguar was getting near that tapir once it got into the water. Shot off towards our boat and sort of took sanctuary in swimming alongside the boat with my group on, getting a really close look there. Incredible to witness. Another activity that we're able to do, which is new for this coming season, and I visited when I was there in October, is to visit the grounds of a lodge which have maned wolves visiting in the evening. So this is just to give a little bit more geography of the area we're visiting. So there's Porta Joffre, where those two yellow pins are on the bottom left there. The Coyaba River is the main river one of the rivers we're covering. The flotel is based on the Quiquiri, the river that runs off here to the right. And we're exploring these areas of the Three Brothers River and the Black River Channel here. But if we travel all the way as far as the right, you can see there, and that's around 2 hours from the flotel, to this really fantastic remote rivers. Very few people head up this way. We reach the grounds of this lodge, and we'll head up there one evening. It's included in the itinerary now, for all those the tours I've mentioned. We'll head out from the flotel one afternoon and cruise up that to the lodge there, spotting wildlife as we go, and have an evening, hopefully enjoying really close views of Maine Wharf. And being based on the flotel gives us a great chance of actually having private jaguar sightings, because a lot of the time, lots of the boats will sort of cluster around the Coyaba River and the areas in the Three Brothers River there. We can head upstream up the Pukuri, which is prolific for jaguar sightings, but often not that many boats head up that way. So on my recent trip, even with 3 nights on the flotel, we still have 3 jaguars. We had them all to ourselves, which was great, heading up that stretch of river there. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity to see Maine Dwarf, coming into the grounds of this lodge now. We'll have an evening there. The guys there are sort of monitoring them. This study has been done on these animals that are hunting this more cerrado habitat in this area of the Pantanal, and they come into the lodge grounds for a few snacks that are left out for them, and they're doing really, really well. It's a very threatened animal, threatened hugely with habitat loss, sadly, but they're doing well in this area. And there's up to 3 animals actually last year were visiting and recorded in the area. And just a short video of this amazing canid fox on stilts, it's known as. And you'll see why when it strides through the habitat here. Incredibly long legs. And they'll feed on small rodents, also on fruit and nuts. They're quite omnivorous, very opportunistic. But yeah, lots of small mammals in amongst the long grasses of this area. And hyacinth macaws in the background as well. So that's just yet another highlight of a visit now that hasn't been possible before, but I've now included that for this year. So a great time to visit. So after our fill of jaguars and hopefully Maine wolf and tapir and all that other wonderful wildlife, it's time to retrace our steps back across 122 of these rather rickety-looking wooden bridges, but they are safe. We've not lost anyone into the Pantanal yet. We're retracing our steps and stopping to look at wildlife as we go, of course. And we spend the last 3 nights at Southwell Pantanal Lodge and take some more walks from here, some boat rides. It's a really nice, clean, comfortable lodge, a really nice base to finish our time in the Pantanal. Sand bitterns here are very, very abundant, and we'll see them frequently throughout the tour. And this is a great place to see them with those lovely markings on their open wings when you see them in flight, and will stretching their wings out like this. A really stunning bird we'll see frequently. It's a very good place to see a gammy heron, really long dagger-like bill and almost sort of mane-like neck feathering there. Really special species. And we're very lucky to see all 5 of South America's kingfishers. So this is green and rufous kingfisher. We also have green, ringed, South American pygmy kingfisher, and an Amazon kingfisher are the 5. So we'll see all of them very, very likely. Taco toucans coming in and feeding on fruit and seeds, which are put out around the lodge in the morning. So you can really just sit outside your room and watch an abundance of bird life coming into the grounds of the lodge. Orange-backed troupial here, another really brightly coloured species we hope to see. I mean, it's a really good place as well to see, black howler monkeys as well. There's a very good population of them here, and a tower actually where you can sort of get up on eye level with them, which is a great experience. And in the evenings, we'll have the opportunity to walk around 200 meters along the banks of the river here, to an area where we can watch for ocelot. There's a sort of a seated area, and where we can wait for an ocelot to come into an open glade. For usually hangs around for 20 minutes if we're lucky. And not all groups are lucky, but we usually have around an 80% chance of seeing ocelot from here as well, which is fantastic. So that's our three main bases that we use on those itineraries, which I've just covered there: the Pouso Alegre at the Floatel in the Jaguar Zone and South Wild Pantanal Lodge. I mentioned Pouvial. That's a very good place for an extension for a couple of nights if you're really targeting giant anteater. So that's the northern end of the Trans-Pantanera Road here, and this is an area that's really sort of open ground dotted with these termite nests. And it's a really productive area for a whole wide range of. There's a red-legged seriema there, which is very frequently seen here, and it's really this sort of South American version of the secretary bird that you find in Africa. They'll be striding around. They don't really like to fly. They'll be walking, running, and they'll be using their long legs to sort of take small reptiles a lot of the time, lizards. And they'll be seen here very, very frequently. They make a really loud squawking call, and they sort of stride around at very, very close quarters around the lodge grounds. But the real reason to stay here is to have a very good chance to see giant anteater. This is the best area to see them, and an early morning drive or an evening safari around these extensive lodge grounds gives you a very, very good chance of getting some really close views and photographs of this amazing animal. Also a chance to see its cousin, the lesser anteater or southern tamandua. So this is an arboreal anteater that we'll often see in the trees itself, where they'll be raiding termite nests up in the canopy, and occasionally we'll see them down on the ground trundling along as well. Campo flicker is one of the birds of the more open country that we're likely to see here, and burrowing owl as well. Fantastic little bird. That we'll hopefully see at Pouvial. So for adding on an extra couple of nights, it's a really, really nice option. I mean, last year there was people lucky enough even to see puma here, and at Pouso Alegre in fact as well, but also jaguar seen here frequently as well at Pouvial. So it's a really good idea for an extension, and it's a lovely lodge to finish at as well. Got a large pool here, and it's one of the closer lodges to Pocono and Cuiabá, so it's a little bit more touristy than Pouso Alegre, for instance, which is far more sort of intimate. But its sightings are prolific, and the grounds are excellent. So it's a really nice place to stay if you want to add on a couple of nights there. Nice rooms at Pouvial. So just for the last sort of 10 minutes or so, I'm just going to run through some other options to end on to your time in the Pantanal. So the red dots here is the Pantanal. So that's where we're basing those. There's sort of four main ideas I mentioned: the Just Jaguars tour, the Mammals of the Pantanal tour. That's a tour that essentially runs like the Just Jaguars tour, but it's 2 nights shorter, just spending a night less on the Floatel and a night less at South Wild Pantanal Lodge. So it's a shorter, slightly faster paced tour. So it's 7 nights in the Pantanal rather than 9 on the Just Jaguars holiday. Then we have the tour that combines the Pantanal and the Iguazu Falls, which is that pink dot down there. We also have a tour that combines the Southern Amazon, which is that yellow dot, and the Pantanal. So it's some really great options there. And that blue dot is an area that I visited and checked out in October last year, and that's the sort of Atlantic forest south of Sao Paulo. So that's another really nice option for an extension. It's only around a 2-hour drive from Sao Paulo. And of course, you're flying through there anyway, so it's no extra flights. And then you can nip down and see a whole different habitat and a whole different suite of birds, which I'll touch on a few slides in a moment. So just a little bit more geography of the area there. The Iguazu Falls is spectacular. We have the tour that combines the two. That's for a really sort of extensive visit, lots of really dedicated to birding around the Atlantic forest here. As an extension, the extension is more focused on just taking in the majestic falls, and there's often over there's over 200, typically around 270 separate falls down at Iguazu, and there's always an amazing flow and a spectacular scene, whether you're viewing from the Brazilian side or the Argentinian side, more both areas on the visit. So it really is it's a special habitat to explore. Really, amazing forest and wildlife, and these falls, all interspersed through it with some lots of different sort of lookout points. This is a great dusky swift, one of the birds you might see at the falls. Actually nests on the falls itself, actually behind the cascades of water. Amazing birds. This bird sat on its nest, keeping its eggs warm and dry, and actually you can see the droplets of rain there on its back. Amazing birds. And the emblem, the bird of the Argentinian side. This is the black-fronted guan. This is an endemic to the Atlantic rainforest habitat we hope we may see as we're walking the trails. Sirocco trogon here. Lots of lovely birds to see here. It's more an area for the birding rather than mammals. Coatis are very common around the falls, but and I've seen tapir there as well. But it's more for the birding, and also a spectacular range of butterflies as well. It really is superb. That sort of humid, wet, warm environment is perfect for butterflies. So if you're into your butterflies, Iguazu is really superb. You can see a lot of species. This is well named the figure of 8 butterfly for obvious reasons there, but there's lots of species to enjoy. So that's Iguazu. Well worth visiting. Spectacular site. The Southern Amazon. This is a photo of. This is been a very popular itinerary since I launched it a few years ago now, that combines that Southern Amazon area with a range of sort of Amazonian species you're not seeing in the Pantanal, and the incredible harpy eagle. So we're there for 4 nights, and then we fly down to the Pantanal and cover the Pantanal as well. So this is a view across to where the lodge is based. This is the Jurena River you're seeing here, and the lodge we stay at is based in this forest reserve, around 27,000 acres, and it was owned by the French government, and the lodge is actually based within that. And we go out exploring every day on the river, and also walks through the forest and drives. And one of the focuses is to see the incredible harpy eagle. This is a young bird here, a fully grown young bird. You can see there the power in the legs there, and the size of those talons. So there's actually a French biologist studying the harpy eagle nests in the States. He's found over 30 nests, and there's always a tower put up near one of the nests, working with the landowners to protect these species, of course, and we're causing absolutely no disturbance. We're helping with their protection by watching these birds, set up to monitor these special birds. And we have the privilege of going up that tower and looking over, often at eye level, to a nest. It's often a young bird we're seeing like this, fully grown young bird, and occasionally we're seeing adults coming in as well. It's really special to see such a incredible bird that used to be thought of as very mythical to see, as the jaguars, of course, but now it's amazing that we can actually combine seeing those 2 species on the same tour. This is quite a surprise for an onlooker. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, when the young bird actually flew onto the tower, sort of staring right down onto the group. They're actually on the tower. So amazing. And again, there you just see the legs and the feet almost look too large for the bird. Incredibly powerful. They're taking monkeys, they're taking sloths. I've seen them very near a tyrus. They take large mammals. That's why they need those incredibly powerful legs and talons. So young harpy, and with luck we'll see a stunning adult as well. What an amazing bird. Has some really rare and fantastic primates here. This is white-nosed saki, so an endangered primate species that does really well in this forest. There's no hunting here, and there's no hunting allowed of wildlife throughout Brazil. That's why you won't be seeing wildlife that's really worried and skittish. And here they're happy in this in this fantastic habitat, and we're seeing them frequently. And this is grey woolly monkey, another really special primate. Beautiful soft coat it has. Really lovely species, and they can sometimes be seen in sort of mixed parties, and we should see both those species on a visit. And it's great. The grounds of the lodge are very good for seeing tapir now as well. The last couple of years, the tapir's been visiting the lodge grounds most evenings, just a 5-minute walk from the rooms. It's a super place to stay. The rooms are really are very nice indeed. I haven't included any slides, but it's a lovely place to stay. Towers that are put up actually within the canopy, so you can get up here and have do some birding around the fruiting trees. These are actually moved to where the trees are fruiting as well, so lots of wildlife visiting. Amazonian umbrella bird here with this amazing sort of wattle that the male has hanging down from its chest. One of the star species and one of the special birds we target here. Often seen when we're actually on the water, taking boat rides on the river, looking to the forest from the river is a great way to watch wildlife. It's Hoatzin, one of the most bizarre birds in the world, really. Lots of debate over its taxonomy. They can actually the only bird that can actually sort of digest and ferment leaves, and has a sort of a digestive system closer to some mammals, cows, for instance, and they're able to process and digest leaf matter. And the youngsters have sort of claws on their wings, which enable them to they often nest hanging over water. The youngsters will sometimes, if they fall, and they can sort of use those claws to sort of clamber out of the water. So a really bizarre bird, the Hoatzin, but seen frequently here, known locally as the stink bird for obvious reasons, with the vegetable matter that they eat. We're sure to find them. And it's a great place for your large macaws. These are blue and gold macaws, of course. We should see scarlet macaws, red and there's a large macaws here in really good numbers. So it's a great place to go if you're into your macaws and different parrot species. So I highly recommend the Southern Amazon there. If you that itinerary is a little bit more bird focused than just jaguars tour, but you're seeing the mammals in both areas as well. And just to finish, just a couple of minutes on the Atlantic rainforest that I mentioned there, just south of Sao Paulo. This is a view of that lodge in the evening. A really nice, small, intimate lodge. Only has 5 rooms here. We just use this lodge for attentions. It's not included in any set itinerary, but a really lovely option to visit here typically after, or you can visit before or after a visit to the Pantanal. It is well worth it. Some really well appointed, lovely rooms. This is a view of the garden, of course. Just a fantastic place to relax and go on some lovely guided walks to see a range of special birds. It really is a superb habitat here. Little rivers, and there's a lake here, and there's a little hide in the forest for some forest dwelling species. Really sort of mossy, wet, fantastic Atlantic rainforest habitat full of birds. This is red-necked tanager, and at the lodge here, you can just relax and watch lots of birds coming down and eating bananas. It's what a lovely way to spend your time. And the table's often full of tanagers and blue dacnus and different toucans coming in as well. So this is green-headed tanager and azure shouldered tanager on the right there. And this little video here just gives you an idea when the fruit really starts getting taken by lots of different birds. An absolute abundance of birds coming in here to feed. That's a blue dacnus in there as well. Yellow chevron tanagers, lots of different species, and a great number of birds there, of course. Red-breasted toucan often visits as well. So this will come down to the fruit, just one of many species we can hope to see. There'll be lots to enjoy. Some different manakins, foliage gleaners, lots of special species to enjoy. So I highly recommend the Atlantic rainforest as an add-on as well to any visit to the Pantanal. So I hope that's given you a bit of a summary of our holidays to the Pantanal and beyond for extension ideas and a bit of an update after my latest visit last year. But I highly recommend the visit. Thank you all for listening. That's about it from me, and I'm very happy now, of course, to answer any questions you might have, and help out with anything you want. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Tom. That was just fantastic. I mean, South America is well known for being fantastic for bird life, isn't it? But I think particularly other parts of the world over the last few decades have stolen the spotlight for being fantastic for mammals, places like Africa, you know, the Serengeti and things. But listening to that presentation there, seeing the dynamics between all of the mammals, the tapirs and the jaguars hunting, you know, it's sort of like a very own Serengeti that we've got there. There's so much going on, isn't there? Just so diverse and constantly, things coming up all the time. And I think it's, you know, great that we're able to spotlight this beautiful place for all of the different species that are there. That photograph that you showed of the two jaguars playing tug of war with the anaconda is just incredible. I mean, this is a photographer's dream, going somewhere like this, because of the sheer diversity, sheer amount of opportunities, good lighting. You know, quite often photographing things in rainforests can be, or forest environments can be a little bit frustrating. You've got a lot of leaf cover, but there's so much stuff there that seems to be in quite good view that's coming out, you know, in clear view for people to see. That absolutely stunning, absolutely fantastic. Folks, do start putting your questions into the Q&A section. I'm just going to have a look at what we've got coming in. I've got a really lovely comment here in the Q&A from Andrew Burke, which I'm just going to read out. It says, firstly, I'd like to thank you for an amazing presentation and especially for the wonderful videos and photos. Secondly, I'd like to thank everyone at Naturetrek for the series of presentations across the winter. I realise this is outside your normal working hours and wanted to express my appreciation for all the hard work of yourselves and your colleagues across the winter months. Thanks, Andrew. That's really kind of you to acknowledge.
Thank you, Andrew.
We love talking about it, but you're right. It is our evenings, and we love talking about it. But that's kind of you to mention that. And he says, finally, Tom, what is your personal single favourite memory of your recent trip to the Pantanal?
Oh, it's a good question. It's a good question. There's many, even in the week I spent in October. I think it has to be the torpedo tapir, though. The video was just our group watching that scene unfold with the jaguar just following it, and then eventually the tapir just zooming off towards us was an amazing moment. So that takes it for me. But there's many others. The main wolf were special, and there was lots of other tapir sighting, giant anteater from the spotlight. There was lots. It's a special place.
Yeah, I don't think people would quite believe you if you didn't have the video footage to go along with that torpedo tapir, as you put it, moment. Absolutely incredible. This tidal wave coming with a tapir underneath it. That really is fantastic. Andrew also goes on to ask, the number of bird species looks amazing. How many number of different bird species do groups typically get?
It's a good question. Typically on the Just Jaguars tour, we're seeing an abundance of birds without really going out of our way to target sort of specific, some more trickier species. So Just Jaguars tour typically around 150, 160, 170 if you're lucky, that sort of mark for number of bird species. But they're everywhere. They're all around the lodge ground. So any downtime you wander around, you can find various other species. On the combined Amazon and Pantanal tour, of course, you're going to get more species, and we do work more bird focused when we're in the Pantanal on that tour. So that's if you're more into your birds, that's a very good combination tour. Around that mark for the northern Pantanal, 150 to 170 number of species. But brilliant views are lots of them. You're not having to work hard, as Sarah touched on there. It's quite open. You're not looking through sort of dense forest a lot of the time, so you can get really great views of a vast majority of the species that you're seeing. It's a bird's paradise, really, and then you all the mammals there as well. Yeah,
fantastic. Another question that's come in: if I don't take the giant anteater extension, what generally are the chances of success?
Yeah, so another great question. The as I touched on, the sightings at Pouce Alegre, where we start our tours, were very good last year. It's around half our groups did see giant anteaters without taking that extension, but that extension is a very good bet. If you're visiting with a real desire to see the amazing giant anteater, then it really does increase your chances. And no one that's added that extension to Prouville has missed seeing giant anteater. So it's well, if you can, then yeah, pretty good chance just on the main tour. We do try, of course, to to find them. And as you can tell, the tour, those called just Jaguars tour, is about a lot more than Jaguars. We're seeing typically between 20 to 23, 24 different mammal species across the tour, which is, yeah, it's an impressive number.
I'm wondering if we now need to rename it to not just Jaguars.
Yeah, it's just one of the Naturetrek tags, isn't it? The just.
Bit of a brochure edit there that we might need to do for future.
Yeah, not just Jaguars. Yeah.
Another question, how often do you get out spotlighting on the tour?
We will typically get out with the spotlight at Pouce Alegre and at Southwell Pantanal Lodge, usually once at each location. Sometimes we'll a couple of times at Pouce Alegre, but yeah, it's exciting getting out at night, and we'll get out there and have a drive around at night, shining the spotlight. So we'll spend a good amount of time out at night as well.
Okay, got a couple of practical questions now. Sort of, is malaria a problem? And just off the back of that, how are the insects and mosquitoes?
Yeah, it's a non-malarial area. You don't need to take any anti-malarials for a visit to the Pantanal, which is great. The mosquitoes, I read the questionnaires and the feedback forms from many groups now for many years, and they don't often get a mention. In all honesty, in my experience, there I've not had not much of an issue with them at all. Occasionally in the earlier season, in the June and July, the odd group has said, "Oh, there's a few around." And for instance, when you're waiting for the ocelot next to the river in the evening, that's to put on your mosquito repellent and keep long sleeves. So they're around, but they've never have been really adversely affected at all. So yeah, they're not something to be concerned about. Long trousers if you're walking through long grass. We don't on the tour, but if you're out exploring any downtime, going off piste a bit, that's worth remembering, because it's not sometimes you're biting insect in the longer grass, but you don't need to worry about those things. Just yeah, go out there and enjoy the wildlife.
Okay, good answer. Thank you. Another question. Someone said, great presentation. Can you just touch on weather expectations? So I suppose, how does the weather vary throughout the season in the Pantanal?
Yeah, another good question. So in June, when the season starts, you can typically expect cooler conditions. When I say cool, it's still like to be sort of high 20s, even touching 30 degrees. So it's the weather, as we all know, is getting harder to predict around the world. But that's typically a little bit cooler in June. There's a bit more water around still, and then it dries out and heats up as the season goes on. So the highest temperatures are typically around September and October, and where it can get up to the high 30s, touching 40 even. It was a particularly hot year last year when I was there in October. So I've known it on my visits, but we still had amazing time with the sightings, and it was a super tour. But that's typically the way it goes. A little bit cooler in June, and then heats up as the season progresses. Yeah.
The same person has also asked, how also are you likely to see anaconda?
Yeah, how likely to see an anaconda? It's a good question. I'm not sure the stats off the top of my head with how many groups succeeded and how many didn't from last year. They're fairly frequently seen. When there's a little bit more water around in the earlier season, they do like the water bodies. We tried quite hard on my last visit in October, checking those holes in the banks that they're left by the catfish, which they enjoy, but we didn't, and some wetter areas, but we didn't have any luck. But certainly one of those things when you start the tour and you have a little word with the guys, and you say, oh, I would really love to see one. I always have the guys primed to really put an effort in for these, for the slightly, other animals. So yeah, you've got a good, decent chance.
Okay. Right, this question is a couple of questions really. This might put you on the spot, Tom, so it might be one that you have to answer over email because you might need to give it a little bit of thought. But we've got Mr. Tyler here asking, can the separate options be chained together in one trip? So I suppose your separate extensions. And if so, how long would that be in total? And what would the recommended sequence be?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. That'll test my brain at this hour.
It will.
You can tag on together. So I regularly have people that we're doing the Just Jaguars tour, for instance, with the Atlantic rainforest first, with Iguazu afterwards, then fly from Iguazu to Rio, and then fly home from Rio. So you can tag them together, and there's no sort of window there that I wouldn't recommend visiting a certain place at the end, in November, for instance. You can visit those different sites throughout that season, and I will always come back with the best way of fitting them together to limit the number of internal flights. And I always try and avoid nights spent actually in Sao Paulo, around Sao Paulo airport. It's inevitable on some itineraries, but ideally if we can fly through there and have the extra nights in other places, I'll fit them together as best that it fits flight wise, and for the season. But it's very regular for people to tag on multiple extensions onto one set itinerary. I hope that sort of vaguely answers it.
I think it does. I think it does,
Question.
yeah. We certainly have a lot of people doing extensions and things. So yeah, Mr. Tyler, if you're interested, do just get in touch and we can put
Yeah,
them all together for you and you can go nuts and do all of them.
why not?
Bill Beam, hi Peter, nice to see you here again. He's asking, what are the chances of seeing Tyra? I mean.
Yeah, Tyra.
Yeah.
We had one road on my last visit. Other group had Tyra walk coming down to the water at Pouso Alegre. It does happen. It's a very hit or miss species. No way of predicting or really targeting seeing Tyra like you do some other species. You're just out, eyes peeled for any movement while you're looking for for other targets. But yeah, they're seen. I would say chances probably between 30 to 40%, around that, maybe 30%. That's around that mark. Some lovely sightings last season. Just need a bit of luck with the Tyra.
Yeah. Another question, when you're in the Pantanal, can you also do any walking safaris alongside the boat trips?
You can get out on foot. You can do some nice walks at Pouso Alegre, and Southwell Pantanal. So we will stretch our legs, particularly at Pouso Alegre. There's not sort of really long, extensive walks. We'll be out for a couple of hours walking in the Gallery Forest and over some of the ranchlands at Pouso Alegre. Based on the flotel, we can't get out walking from there, of course. But in all honesty, there's not a great deal of time for that. In the middle, the sort of 2.5, 3 hours we have in the middle of the day over lunch and the heat of the day, you're sort of relaxing or scanning from the top deck, and then we're out on the spotting boats and pretty much until dark. So that's sort of set up there. But we get some good walks in at the land-based lodges either side of that.
That's good. And got someone asking about photographic gear. I'm happy to contribute to the answer of this, Tom, but I'll let you answer first. What type of photographic gear do group members generally bring?
It really varies. I mean, I only ever take a little point and shoot bridge camera. I'm not really a photographer. Even with that, you can get some really nice photos. There's people there with sort of 300mm lens. There's others that take 500mm. You can get close to lots of these species though, so it's not vital to have a really long lens. You are getting up, quite up close and personal to lots of these species. But I'm not particularly knowledgeable on different lenses and photographic equipment, but I've seen people there with everything really.
I would just add to that from my own experience. Sorry, go on, Tom.
No, I was just saying, if you've got anything to add to that.
Okay.
So,
well, just from my experience of birding in Costa Rica, I took a 100 to 400mm lens. So if this doesn't mean anything to anyone, this is just when you've got a DSLR camera, with a telephoto lens on it. This just refers to the different length magnification that you can have on it. And the versatility of that, rather than having a prime lens, which would be fixed at a fixed focal length, which are more expensive and heavier, I appreciated having the versatility of a zoom lens, which went from 100 to 400, just so you can mix up what you've got near and far if you're looking at things on the bird feeders or something further away. You could consider having a converter with you. I mean, this is for the more really kind of keen photographers. I have a 1.4 converter. Just remember that you reduce by one stop of light, it reduces it, which in the rainforest isn't always ideal when you've got dappled light. I've now personally upgraded to a 1 to 500 with a 1.4 converter, which makes it a 700 effectively, which I absolutely love. And I find the converter really good for doing birding and things. But honestly, yeah, I have a couple of my framed photographs. I might even just tilt it here. You can't really see, but that photo there, a big photo, is a whale, a grey whale, which I took with my iPhone. And as Tom was saying, you don't need to go and have all the gear and no idea. Don't go and spend loads of things if you loads of money on photography equipment if you're not going to be possibly sure how to use it, and you don't feel a pressure to go and do that. It's totally up to you. I've seen some fantastic shots from people that have just got a little point and shoot bridge camera, and people have taken great photos on their iPhone. Or other people who are really keen photographers and have got, invested in quite a bit of gear. You can get some great stuff secondhand if you don't want to spend lots of money on it. Another tip I would just add, just for photographing in tropical environments, is to take a plastic bag. Ideally, a Ziploc bag is really good, because if you're going from air-conditioned cabins to a humid environment outside, for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, your lens will steam up. Just because of the temperature difference. And if you have it in a Ziploc bag, then it just allows it to adjust more easily. It's not a problem. You just have to take the lens off and let it dry out. But if you haven't realized it's going to do that and you point your lens at something, it's completely clouded up, as has happened to me in the past, can be quite frustrating. So just going out, checking. Right. Are there life jackets provided on the boats?
Yes. Yes, there are.
Yeah.
They're very staples.
No, I was just reading this other question. Has anyone ever fallen out of the boats used from the flotel?
Very quick question of the night. I like that. No. Thankfully, no one ever. Not that I know of, anyway. No one's fallen out of one of the boats. Now they're very stable. Those boats will be often, zipping around the rivers and smaller tributaries. But no, you're very safe. And again, we're out for at times, 3-4 hours at a time on those smaller spotting boats, and we'll sometimes stop at the grounds of another lodge, or if someone needs the loo, we'll often just go into a sandbank. One of the guides checks no jaguars around, and people can go to the loo. So you no need to worry about that.
Great. And another question, Tom, is it was a really dry season last year. How was your visit when you went out? Did the reported fires have any impact?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very dry season last year, but it was a very, very successful tour. And fires do happen at Pantanal. It's part of the sort of regeneration. It's part of the cycle there and part of the habitat. They were more extensive last year. They were in use quite a bit, particularly in the southern Pantanal, where we're a long way from where we were visiting. But there were some, not a million miles away from where we were, but we closely monitor the sort of fire maps throughout the season. And touch wood, in this 9 seasons now, I've been looking after the Pantanal tours. There's been no problems with fires, and there was no problems in the areas we were visiting last year either. But it's something that happens. It's not unusual to visit, particularly in September and October, and see a little bit of smoke in the distance. It's sort of part of the habitat, and then it has the wet season follows them, and it's all green and sort of back to back to its normal state by June, when the next season begins. So no, it was all okay. It was hot, though. I'm not expecting it to be such a hot season again this year.
Okay. Well, thanks, Tom, for those really comprehensive answers. We've had loads of lovely positive comments in the chat here and in the questions section of people saying how much they've enjoyed your presentation tonight. I have too. It's just been fantastic to see all of those photos and see just the sheer diversity of species that are on offer. It really is wonderful. Folks, that is the last of our online roadshows for this season. But we will be back, don't worry. Later in the year, we'll probably pick them back up again in November time. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us over the last few months. We really do enjoy doing these presentations. We always welcome suggestions of destinations or topics you'd like us to cover. So please feel free to email those to me. You'll receive an automatic email this time tomorrow with my email address on it, which is just Sara with a no H, Sara @naturetrek.co.uk. So feel welcome to send any follow-up thoughts or questions you have through to that. And if you have any extra questions that you just think of after the presentation this evening that you want to ask Tom about, you can email him directly at tom@naturetrek.co.uk, or just email me and I can forward it on to him, but that's no problem at all. And we've been really happy to showcase this fantastic destination for you all this evening. We've overrun by 5 minutes or so, but just because we've had such great interest and lots of questions about this destination, so that's been no problem for us at all. And Tom, thanks for such a great talk.
No, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Sara, for your excellent hosting as always. Enjoyed it.
All right,
thanks
folks.
for all the lovely comments as well. I've not had a chance to reply to them all. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, we really appreciate all the lovely comments, folks. Thanks so much. And we look forward to seeing you all again in November. Take care.
Brilliant. See you then. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.